COVID-19 has pushed online learning upon everybody in the education system. Some teachers already taught online, but now every single teacher has to. The ones with experience even have flaws that are still apparent, like showing the wrong screen when sharing a class, or being muted for half of a lesson. I know all of us have experienced that once or twice. Now, most of you have taken or are taking an online class, but have you considered how it's hurting you and your education? I'm currently taking 8 online classes, only one by choice, and I don't plan to take another. I've also researched the drawbacks of online learning, and I'm going to share them with you. During this speech, I'll explain to you the benefits of sticking to a traditional classroom, and I'll persuade you to avoid online classes as much as possible. There are more and more online classes showing up now, but they're not as beneficial as universities are advertising. Universities advertise them as cheap and more efficient, and while they are, that does not outweigh the drawbacks that they have. According to an article posted on October 17, 2008 called Online Education, Does Online Education Help Students? There's a financial incentive to exaggerate the advantages of distance learning while downplaying the problems it presents. Schools advertise online classes for more money. They're cheaper to maintain, so colleges use them for profit. Advertisements leave out the negatives, so colleges aren't telling you about the negatives of online learning. Online learning lacks connections with students and the instructor. Those are important for both classes and jobs later in life. Connections with other students help each other have success and pass the class, and those kind of skills are necessary for a job. Classrooms teach us to communicate for the benefits of each other. And also, online learning needs self-motivation. As an example, from our online speech class, we have these packets. With these packets, we're not required to do them. We're also not required to watch the videos. So you look at these and you're like, oh, I don't need them. And with that, you miss out on the information needed for the class, and your grades tend to suffer. Classrooms would teach that kind of information, and during the class, whether you read it or your teacher explains it, and you can ask questions immediately about what you're reading. This will allow you to do work more efficiently and not have to wait for a response and do your projects. Traditional classrooms are also better because according to an article from February 12, 2020 by Jill Mahoney, students taking at least one virtual course had an average online pass rate of 55% in 2017 to 2018, compared to an overall pass rate of 79% in the traditional classrooms. Pass rate is an important number to see how effective a class is. Online classes are passing barely over half the students, while traditional classrooms are passing nearly 4 out of 5 students. That's a huge difference. Now that we know the drawbacks of online learning, let's focus on the prioritization of traditional learning. Traditional classrooms fulfill every requirement needed, so schools and universities should incentivize them. In traditional classrooms, students can connect with others and the teacher, and they can also be motivated by each other and the teacher to get all the work done. Online classes are needed for some people with busy schedules, but they should only be offered to those people and students who have shown success in the traditional classroom. This will allow schools to limit online classes and prioritize more traditional ones. Now that we know how the colleges can limit them, let's visualize the difference between a traditional class and online class. Let's start with having this speech class in a traditional setting. Let's start simple. How much do you know about me? Little to nothing? Normally in a classroom, you'd know each other and the teacher. You can ask questions with each other and the teacher, and you can learn what you need to learn quickly. Also, how would the speeches be different? You can't redo them, and nervousness is a completely different thing. I know from personal experience that having 20 people I don't know very well in front of me is a big difference compared to a couple family members. And those kinds of ideas are important to learning speeches. In a real life scenario, you wouldn't be able to do it again. You have one chance in front of a live audience, and you mess that up, you're done. Classes should prepare you for this. Now let's compare a normal class to an online class. Think about a science class you've taken in school recently. Now think about the labs and activities you've done. You really wouldn't be able to do those in an online setting. And they're the most important part of the science classes, and you just can't get them online. Now with this information, let me explain what I think you should do. You should avoid online classes. It only hurts your learning, and when you only go to school for a degree, go ahead, take online classes. But what you should be going to school for is learning. And the best way to do that is to go to a traditional classroom and to learn everything that you can with connections and getting every last bit of information out of your teacher. So when you go to school, you shouldn't be thinking about a degree. You should be thinking about the growth of your own mind. And you can do that much better from a traditional classroom. In conclusion, online classes are advertised as better, but they just lack the social aspects. Traditional classrooms just make education better in general, and they better prepare you for the future. Now, do you really want to skip out on the most important parts of education for little money and convenience?